కథ చెప్తా అందమైన కథ చెప్తా అందమైన కథ చెప్తా అమ్మ పాప బాబు నాన్న అందరికీ చెప్తా కథ చెప్తా రండి రోయ్ కథ చెప్తా రండి రోయ్ కథ చెప్తా. Okay, which language is this? Telugu, you guessed it right. Today I'm going to be telling you a folk tale from the land of Telugu speaking people, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Hi, I'm Priya Muthukumar from Storypur. So let's jump into the story. Okay, so once upon a time in a small village, in a small house, there lived a poor family. Vishnu Rao, the husband, and Budhimathi, the wife. Vishnu Rao was a kind and compassionate man. Budhimathi was a smart and intelligent woman. Vishnu Rao earned very little, just enough to provide his family. Budhimathi, being smart and intelligent and hardworking, took care of the entire household work single-handedly. Okay, now Vishnu Rao, I told you, was very kind and compassionate. Though he earned very little, he made sure that he invited guests home for a meal. Day after day, guests kept coming to his house. Night after night, poor Budhimathi went to sleep hungrily because they had very little food to eat, and whatever little they had to share it with their guests. So most of the time, it was Budhimathi who sacrificed her food. Her food was given as a meal to the guests. Budhimathi tried explaining this to her husband, Vishnu Rao. But Vishnu Rao wouldn't understand this at all. He kept calling guests home. They could be neighbors' friends, they could be cousins, they could be you. I mean, it could be you, or sometimes it could be me as well. Vishnu Rao would just invite anyone to his house for a meal, right? Now, that's where the actual problem started. There were some people who were taking Vishnu Rao's generosity, kindness, compassion, hospitality for granted, and that was not fair. Like, if they could buy their own food too, they would just come, pretend, stand in front of Vishnu Rao and say, Vishnu Rao, today we are hungry. We don't have money to buy our own food. Can we come to your house and have a meal? And Vishnu Rao would take them in. Even if some of them could cook their own food at home, they were lazy. They would just go to Vishnu Rao and say, Vishnu Rao, we are hungry. We don't have food at home. And Vishnu Rao would bring them home. Budhimathi understood this. She felt this wasn't fair. You can't take someone's kindness for granted. She explained this to Vishnu Rao, but Vishnu Rao would not understand. One day, Budhimathi was so upset. She was so hungry. She was upset that her husband was not understanding how others were tricking her. With a heavy heart, she continued doing her daily chores. She picked up her pile of dirty clothes and her sturdy wooden stick, and she walked to the riverbank to wash her clothes. She washed her clothes. She beat her clothes with a wooden stick. Generally, she did that to get rid of the dirt from the clothes. She also hummed a tune. Hum, ha, hum, hum, ha, hum, hum, ha, hum. She started looking at her stick, this time with admiration, because she got an idea. She ran back to her house holding her stick. As expected, there was a guest in her house along with Vishnu Rao. She smiled at the guest. She spread the mat for him to sit. He looked pretty well off. He could have bought or cooked his own food, but as usual, he had come because Vishnu Rao must have invited him. Okay. Vishnu Rao was surprised. Wow, my wife is not grumbling despite me bringing in a guest. He was really surprised. Budhimathi smiled. She looked at his wife and said, why don't you get some water for the guest? And Vishnu Rao took a pot and went to the river. Meanwhile, Budhimathi went to the kitchen and the guest was sitting happily waiting for the sumptuous meal to arrive. But he heard sounds and noises from the kitchen, banging of pots and pans. He said, probably she's making me a nice, delicious meal. Some bit of noise is fine, he told himself. Budhimathi walked out of the kitchen with her head held high with a sturdy wooden stick. She's got an idea now. Let's see what she's going to do. She placed the stick in a corner in the room. Now the guest was getting slightly confused. What's happening? She cleaned, she swept, she smeared that corner with cow dung, and she knelt down in front of the stick and she started to pray. She offered banana, she offered betel nut leaves, she offered flowers, and she kept mumbling something. The guest trained his ear to listen to what she was telling, and that's when he heard what she was saying, which confused him even more. She was like, please forgive us for what we are going to be doing now. Sorry in advance, she said. Huh? Sorry in advance? The guest mustered his courage. He was panicking a little bit. She looked at Budhimathi and asked, Budhimathi Amma, you are praying to a stick. Why? And some prayer you were telling, asking sorry. Why? Asked the guest. And Budhimathi said, oh, Dad, we have a family tradition, ritual. We call people home. We give them sumptuous, delicious, yummy food. And then you see the stick. My husband takes the stick and starts beating them nicely. Dum, dum, dum. Dum, dum, dum. The guest was shocked. I am the guest. I am going to be eating now. After that, you're going to be beating me? Yeah, that's why I said sorry in advance, said Budhimathi. Oh no! Screamed the guest. He held his dhoti, he got up and he picked up his chappals and he said, Waddu! Waddu! Naku Waddu! I don't want your food, I don't want you to beat me. Waddu! Waddu! I don't want anything, he screamed in Telugu and he dashed out of the house. Budhimathi smiled. She pretended to stop him. Meanwhile, Vishnu Rao was coming back and he saw the guest running outside like that and he asked Budhimathi, what happened? Why is the guest running like that? Oh, I don't know. He asked me for the stick, said Budhimathi. What did you tell him? Asked Vishnu Rao. I told him I need this to wash my clothes. How can I give it to you? I said that very politely, but he just ran away. He got angry. Budhimathi said that so innocently. Vishnu Rao said, okay, I'll go bring him back. Let me give the stick to him. He took the stick, he didn't give up, and he ran after the guest. Sir, take the stick. Take it. The guest had ran so far away that he could not hear Vishnu Rao, but he could see Vishnu Rao showing the stick and saying something. He thought Vishnu Rao was calling him back to hit him. Come back. It sounded like that to him. But all the while Vishnu Rao, poor fellow, was telling, come and take the stick. The guest ran. Vishnu Rao ran. The guest ran. Vishnu Rao ran. The guest was far away. He decided he'd never come back. He'd never even turn back. Okay? The guest went around telling all the villagers. He never forgot the incident. Please do not go to Vishnu Rao's house for a meal or whatever it is. He has a big stick, okay? Said the guest. The word spread. And everyone decided that they would never go to Vishnu Rao's house. Meanwhile, Vishnu Rao came back home. Budhimathi, you should have given that stick to him. Why do you do such things? He scolded his wife a little bit. But he sat down, he enjoyed his simple meal that Budhimathi had cooked. He ate well, not just him. Budhimathi also had her food that day. Her stomach was full, her heart was full. She had a twinkle in her eyes because her idea had worked. Her presence of mind had helped her once again, and she had gotten rid of these unwanted guests who were taking her husband's generosity, kindness, compassion for granted. From that day onwards, none of these unwanted guests visited Budhimathi and Vishnu Rav's house. And that, my dear friends, is the end of the story. Ta-da! Now, it's left up to you to decide if Budhimathi was right or Vishnu Rao was wrong, or were the guests making mistakes? Was it their fault? Okay? So if you liked the story, please like this video, share it with everyone and spread the joy of stories, right? And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Kada chepta, అందమైన కథ చెప్తా.